Francois Lebec. Good morning, Francois.
Listen to me one moment, please. You fat ass. Tired of the way you speak about the Canadians? We are good people. We're here vacationing on the beach. We bring our dollars here, and you're always putting down the Canadians. And me, personally, is sick and tired of your crap. And you're not losing weight. I saw you the game. You're fat like a pig. The other thing that I would like to say is that you're going to throw out some baseball. I will be there personally to boo you out of the stadium. We come here as good people, friendly people, nice people. We don't need you to speak like you speak, Jeffrey, the fat ass the forest.
The Defo Show, featuring Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
All right. I always like to open up with a little fan mail here. That was left on our voicemail just yesterday again by one Francois Lebec. Welcome to the show, a special bridge edition of the Defo Show here. During this draft week, we have the NFL draft on tap here, and always great every Monday, brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. We feature on Appeal Yourself Off the Mat Monday the handsome one himself, longtime quarterback in the pros there in the Canadian Football League, great American as well, longtime announcer with ESPN. You heard him analyzing football. He was too good for ESPN, so they got rid of him. But we have him here. We're very fortunate to have the great John Congemi with us here on the program. John, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. I'm still trying to get rid of that French Canadian accent I had way back when, but I'm working it out. I'm working it out, Defo. Everything's well.
Especially like the part where he says with dripping sarcasm, "You're fat like a pig," which
that was pretty good.
Doesn't bode well for my longevity here on the planet. All right, John, it's draft day. I don't know. I mean, what was your experience? What were you anticipating being drafted in the NFL when you came out of the University of Pittsburgh, like your predecessor, the great Dan Marino, who had quite a wild experience on draft day himself, I would imagine.
Yeah, that was a little different and unexpected for Dan for sure, but I think he made the most of that selection and where he was drafted. Yeah, mine was a little different. I was injured prior to the draft in my senior year, so I had broken my back, so I had to pull my name out of the draft, and that's how I ended up in Canada and passing their physical and not passing it at whatever the combine was at that time. It wasn't the big extravaganza that we now see play out every year in Indianapolis, and for the combine and the draft, all over the place in Vegas this year. So it was one of those things where draft day wasn't as a big deal for me because I wasn't participating in it. But I'm sure that there's a lot of excited players and a lot of anticipation on where you go, because everybody seems to be slotted now, over the past probably 10 years of that big money deal for the first round draft choice and $50 million going your way right off the bat. If you're one of those quarterbacks, or really any position now, gets gleaned down, probably cut in half, but it's still a lot of money, and it still means a lot to be drafted in the top 10, in the top 20, let alone anywhere in the first round, because your dollars and your setup for life really is complete if you can accomplish that.
Well, John, okay, and it's funny, we've talked about a lot with you over the last couple of years. We haven't really talked about your draft story. So I knew we talked about that you were injured and that sort of affected your NFL career and you going to Canada. What were you hearing before that? Like Defo was around during that time. I was really young during that time, so I don't remember you in college. I know you were a stud at Pittsburgh, but like, what were you hearing before that? Because this day and age, injury doesn't stop guys. Like in that day and age, we know what injury was. It ruined a career. It ended a career. It changed everything. Nowadays, the way medicine is, it can slow you. But look, Jameson Williams tore an ACL in like the title game, and he's going to be drafted in the top 20 picks. So, like, what were you hearing before the injury? And then how did that, as you just said, it affected you getting into it, but your thoughts on the NFL in the future?
Well, I didn't think I was going to be able to play at that level again, because I had so much severe pain, and just walking around felt like it was a pretty good, deal for me, but I still wanted to play. But what I was hearing was, with my stature, I'm not the biggest guy. I didn't weigh a whole lot. And they thought longevity and durability was going to be my biggest deterrent. And with the added injury, could factor in to that quite significantly. So I probably, if I was going to guess, it would have been later rounds, maybe an undrafted free agent trying to make a team somewhere in the NFL. You never know. It might have been better than that if you have one team that feels like you're going to be their guy, and you could have a little bit more of a clear outlook on what your projection might be in the NFL. But that was probably where I was going to be penciled in at.
John Congemi with us here, and it's Dateline Dolphins with John Congemi on the Defo Show here on On Channel. You're close with Danny, and we hear this a lot, that athletes, they always want to, sort of, get back at the teams that overlooked them and have the proverbial chip on their shoulder about, well, you could have had me. And so they especially gear it up when they're playing in games against teams they felt like could have taken them in the draft. Now he drops all the way down to 27.
Yep.
And has any number of guys, including Ken O'Brien, who he had a kind of a rivalry going with in the pros, taken well ahead of him. I mean, Todd Blackledge, who, obviously is known as an announcer, but wasn't much of a pro quarterback out of Penn State. You had Tony Eason. You had a couple of guys that you could have accepted being taken behind, Elway and Jim Kelly. But how did he feel about it? Did that bother him at all? Or was he just, the kind of guy, very confident in himself, obviously, Dan Marino, that he just shrugged it off and said, oh, what assholes, man. They could have had me. I mean, did that motivate him at all that he was taken so late in that first round?
I can only, kind of guess. I never had that conversation with Dan, but knowing him, probably to this day, he's probably trying to stick it in somebody's face because he felt like, that wasn't the way it should have been. And that wasn't the way that he had it in his mind. And the way he played throughout his college career probably felt like it was going to be better served with someone selecting him in the top 10, if not the top 5, if not the first guy picked, probably in his mind. So, I'm sure that aided him. And I'm sure when he played a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm sure he wanted to have a terrific afternoon and have his team win and have him outduel the opposing quarterback, no matter who that might have been. And I'm sure when he went down that list of teams, he felt that way probably inside of him. I never told me that, never asked him that. I never had to really, because when you know somebody and you know their body language and you know their makeup, it's kind of you don't need those words between each other. You know that, how he's made up and what's in his mind. And that's my guess anyway. And I'm sure that's how the opposing teams might have felt after the wins and losses started, to pile up more in the direction of success for Dan and the Dolphins.
I could see him running around the room, though. Blackledge? Are you kidding me?
For sure.
And this was like the first ever, I believe, televised draft, 1983, when he was taken. And I remember, the Elway pick, and Shula had to be beaming. I mean, kind of put him back on the map for another 20 years. Or 17 anyway, when, Danny fell into his lap. Yeah, you couldn't have a better situation. All right, the draft is on tap this week, and it's not as sexy, it doesn't seem, although there are some people that feel that there'll be many, many excellent NFL players that are derived from this year's crop of people coming into the league, but without the big-time quarterback debate where you have maybe 2-3 guys, and you're wondering, hey, are they all going to go in the top 5? It doesn't seem to have the same sex appeal. The good thing about it, though, John, is it's coming here from Las Vegas, so I get a little vicarious thrill just watching the people celebrating there. But what do you think? I mean, what's your overall impression about this year's draft?
I think it's going to be a great draft in terms of teams that are picking high and have a lot of draft choices. They're going to get players that are going to improve their team immediately. They may not have the sexy name at quarterback, and those guys, time will tell. And where they get picked, what team they're on, what kind of scheme they're running, and how successful they are early in their careers. Or is it one of these guys that maybe sit for a year or two and garner some of that knowledge from whoever's playing and help them along and have a long career because of not being thrusted into the starting role right away on a bad team? Because the majority of the time when you're a quarterback picked in the first round and you're picked in the top 10, those are losing teams. Those are teams that are outside looking in. And I would think it might be a favor for some of these guys that some of the teams that are in the top 10 aren't looking at quarterback. It looks like they have an edge rusher penciled in, or a corner, or an offensive tackle, or a linebacker that's high. I just think that the guys that are available at quarterback might benefit this year more than in many years in the past, because they're not going to have to, their expectation of playing right away is there, but it's not pinned to the floor 100%. You're our guy, you're going in and you're the starter before you take, one practice snap in the NFL. So you're looking at edge rushers, you're looking at offensive tackles, you're looking at corners. And I think the longevity of those guys in the National Football League to the teams that they're going to may impact those teams much longer than taking a quarterback early.
If you're looking to take the edge off, though, there's one place to go, John Congemi, and we love this joint. We can't wait. I sort of lost touch there in the negotiations that were going on with the great Tommy Fox. But I'm going to resurrect those talks today, the peace talks, and see if we can't get down there to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, which is just dynamite. I mean, every time I see the roll of the video of Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, I feel like I'm back there. It is that fantastic.
Yeah, every time I get it, I kind of like exhale and put my feet up and want to, go out and enjoy some sun and the bay views and some good food and a nice drink or two. So, yeah, that's what you get at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104. You just kind of roll down to the upper keys. And my brother, Dominic, and Larry, and my sister-in-law, Amanda, first-class service from the minute you step on property to the minute that you leave. And live entertainment on the weekends. You've got the sports bar that you can entertain the NFL draft if you like. You can go in and watch the U.S. Open coming up, the Open Championship if you're a golf fan, or you can go to the Tiki Bar and just kind of relax and look at the pool, look at the bayside views, and kick back and relax. So anything you want from first-class service to great food and entertainment, you can get it at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill.
Always a great time. John Congemi, it's a little Dateline Dolphins. We'll dive a little more into the upcoming draft. It takes place Thursday, the first round, and then the next couple of rounds on Friday, and then after that, it's helter-skelter. But we'll get some more thoughts going on the upcoming NFL draft with John Congemi in just a moment.
Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. You're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. Good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing taking sunset views of Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business, and the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Before you call your insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
Jimmy Johnson joins us here on the program, along with John Congemi, and it's Dateline Dolphins, of course. Leslie Bisser, the lovely and talented one.
It was always different. You had to know if it was Emmitt Smith, if you screamed at him, he was going to go into a shell. I wasn't going to get anything out of him for the rest of the day. If it's Charles Haley, he was going to get upset at me and maybe threaten me on my life. And
mean it.
Yeah, mean it. And he could have done it too, I promise. But when he went into my office, he said, Coach, just get on to me one-on-one. Don't do it in front of the other players. Now, Michael Irvin, I could cuss him like a sailor. And the more I cussed him, the harder he worked.
From South Florida to the entire world, thank you to the iHeartRadio app. Here is Defo, joined by Lubie, on The Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show, the Defo Show here, an abridged edition on this Monday, as we have a special week of programming lined up for you. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie. It's always special to have John Congemi going Dateline Dolphins with us on the program, brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. All right, I don't know. I would imagine you had this experience also, but, in my affiliation with various radio stations that carried the Dolphins over the years and doing pregame and postgame, and I would think you were part of this as in your role, especially with the Phins Ciders, John Congemi, when you were doing the internet radio stuff with the Dolphins, in-house stuff. I was part of any number of Dolphin draft parties where, they brought people out and gave them a little goodie bag, some lip balm and a little gold chain or whatever. And, they all came out like thousands to the stadium for the draft and the anticipation of the first-round pick. And the place would just clear out. I mean, it was like the ball game was over in the 11th inning, and everybody was out of there immediately as soon as the Dolphins picked, even if there were like 6 more selections or a dozen more selections in the first round. As soon as they made their pick, whoosh, everybody was out of there. And we used to say, okay, the flowers are in the punch. I was usually hosting these with like Jim Mad Dog Mandich. And we couldn't believe how quickly the people lost interest in the rest of the first round. But there is no first-round pick this year. And there is no second-round pick. And there's only like a late supplemental third-round pick. So what do you anticipate Dolphin fans are going to do to, do they just sit there and stare at pictures of Tyreek Hill?
This is
how do they pass the time?
This is how bad it's gotten, Defo. I think I've hosted the Dolphins draft show at the stadium, or the Dolphins draft party at the stadium. I don't know. I've been involved with it probably the last 15 years.
Wow.
I've hosted it probably the last 6 or 7. They haven't even picked up the phone to call me. I don't even know if they're having a draft party there or not. And really, I think this would be the perfect time. You could see Chris Greer and the owner, Stephen Ross, and whoever else is involved in terms of scouts and coaches. Let's call Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, get about, 12 Fisherman's Pizzas and like 2 cases of Heineken Light, and just say, who wants to pick? Somebody take a pick in the 3rd round. Who wants to take a shot at a 7th rounder? You haven't picked in a couple of years. You go ahead. I don't know. It's one of those things where the Dolphins have already, had their draft, and it was called free agency, and they picked veteran guys with a pedigree, and in some cases, like with one of the most explosive players in the NFL today, in Tyreek Hill, you fill the void at tackle and guard on the left side of your line. You've already spent your 1st round, your 2nd round, your 3rd round, a couple of 4ths, and you've had your draft. So the Dolphins have put themselves in position with guys with experience, and they're rolling the dice, and they're taking a page out of the LA Rams offseason playbook, and they've gone for it in free agency. And that doesn't mean that they're out of money, and it doesn't mean that they're out of draft choices looking forward into 2023, because I think they have a total of 8 draft choices. They have 2 in the 1st round, 1 in the 2nd, 2 in the 3rd. They've set themselves up nicely to bolster what they've done this offseason with next year's draft, although this year's draft might not be as sexy, and you may have more undrafted free agents than in past years, but they've done their work. The hay is in the barn, as they would say. They've done their due diligence. They spent the money in free agency, and they've improved this roster. Now it's up to the coaching staff. It's up to the players to go out and perform come September, October, November, December, January, to get into the playoffs and make a run, because this window now has opened probably for the next 2.5, 3 years, maybe 4 if you're an optimist. But right now it's win immediately for the Miami Dolphins.
Well, and that's the thing. It's going to be boring. Defo's not wrong, because usually we're like amped up because they have like a top 15 pick. In the last couple of years, they've had like 7 picks in the first like 2 rounds. So we put all of our attention toward it. But to me, this weekend festivities being boring is a good thing for Dolphins fans, because they've used the last 2 years to build a core, right? They have young guys, Holland they hit on, and Phillips they hit on. And I think Tua with this group will finally be shown that they hit on him. And some of the other picks that are questionable, Robert Hunt, a later round pick, who's a guy who's going to start with this veteran offensive line. Like, they've done what they need to do through the draft to build this core. You don't tank forever. The reason you tank, unless you're the Sixers, is to do this now, right? You tank, get your picks, build a core, then use the other picks to bring in talent, use your cap room to sign talent, and then use the draft to fill in depth holes and the occasional starter here and there. That's what they've done. For all the crap I've given Chris Greer, they've sort of done the thing they said they would do with the tanking. So I'm glad it's going to be boring, because that means the plan they've set out that I maligned, and I did, is sort of coming to fruition. And as a Dolphin fan, we should now have a winner and root on a winner instead of wondering what the heck we're going to see.
What a trade Laramie Tunsil was, huh, guys? I mean, I think that in 2030, we may get 2 more picks for that trade to the Houston Texans. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Lubie. The Dolphins have been building this, since Brian Flores was here in year 1, because that was one of the worst NFL rosters, not only that year, but in recent years. They ended up winning 5 games. They didn't tank quite as much as maybe fans or, any other people looking at it may have liked, but they did put themselves in position to get a quarterback that they had penciled in. It was either Burrow or Tua. That was the guy that you were going to get. And because you had a little bit more success than you thought, you ended up at number 5, and the injury to Tua as well, the multiple injuries, kick him down. So now you're here, you build around him in the following 2 years. You end up changing coaches and coaching staffs. You get more depth in free agency. You get, one of the most explosive players in football. You add him to a draft choice that seems to be from the same ilk, that they do the same types of things. And now you want your quarterback to elevate his play. The defense seems to be intact. They may get one more edge rusher. Melvin, I think it was Melvin Ingram was in town last week, kicking the tires maybe. So you may end up getting that in the draft later in the round or next year to bolster the defense. So a lot of moving pieces with the Miami Dolphins, but they're in the right direction. You're building for the future as well as winning right now. And that's the NFL today. Win now. You don't, you're planning and trying to prosper for, the next 4, 5, 6 years, and your salary cap has to go along with that. But if you don't win, you don't get in at least to the playoffs and have a chance, boy, you really feel like you're on the outside looking in. And this team has been on the outside looking in for a number of years.
Let's hope that changes. One thing that never changes, the class and dignity brought to the program by the great John Congemi.
Yes,
brought to
sir.
you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. Dynamite place to hang out for any occasion, even if it's just to unwind for a little while. John, always a pleasure, my friend. Enjoy the draft, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks, guys. Enjoyed it, and talk to you soon.
Thanks, John.
All right, John Congemi, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill here on the Defo Show. Special week of programming lined up for you here on the Defo Show. So stick around all week long for these abridged editions, including a conversation coming up. Looking forward to talking later on in the week to Otis Anderson, the former UM great, who, of course, starred with the St. Louis Cardinals, who he was drafted by, and then later on won a couple of Super Bowls with Parcells and the New York Giants. Many other people coming up on the program, including Tony Segreto this week. So stick around. We'll be with you all week long with abridged editions of the Defo Show here on ION Channel, and we'll see you again tomorrow at 7 here on ION.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.